Good evening, everyone. I don't know what happened to my volume. It was not doing what I wanted it to do. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our nightly praying of the Rosary. My name is Father Don Green. I am the chaplain and president for Dignity San Diego. And as always, I welcome you, whether pre-recorded or not, to our Rosary. Tonight we are live, or at least I'm some semblance of live. I think that's me, in all of my glory. Welcome, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to just stop and rest and focus on something other than your life, focus on something other than the craziness that is going on in the world. This is even though we pray for the world, even though we lift up the problems and the concerns and the issues and the faults and the joys and the blessings, we lift all of that up. Even though we do that, we take time to separate ourselves from it, if that makes any kind of sense, and be present for a half an hour or so. Just be present with God, to be present with our spiritual Mother Mary, and just find ourselves wrapped in that warm love, that warm embrace that is our faith, that is our God, that is our Mother, and just to be able to spend that time. I don't know if I've shared this with all of you before, but there is a cloister of nuns. I don't know if they're still, if the cloister still exists. There's a cloister of nuns, I think back east, I think New York, somewhere upstate in New York, but it could have been a different state, but New England area. And they were in perpetual adoration, and they perpetually recited the Rosary for the concerns and the cares and all of the worries of the world. They were always, at least one or two nuns were always in their chapel. The Blessed Sacrament was always exposed for adoration, and they always recited the Rosary. And there was a scientific study done, and they actually attached, electrodes to the brains of the nuns, and they found that while they were reciting the Rosary, their conscious mind actually reduced and their subconscious mind increased. And because a lot of the nuns reported that they had, experiences where they spoke to God, they heard God speak to them through the recitation of the Rosary, and that reduction or that lessening of the conscious brain, the things that we're aware of every single day, the things we touch, the things we taste and smell and hear and all of that, those things were pushed away, and the subconscious was allowed to do it. That's part of why we recite 10 Hail Marys. That's why we have the Rosary bead, and our fingers are able to work the beads. It's because that's where our conscious brain starts to focus. It focuses on reciting the prayers correctly. It focuses on fingering, the beads and moving along as we go. And that is just enough to allow our conscious brain to just take a back seat for a little bit, and allow our subconscious to allow that, to where many say that we, that place where we experience and find God in our brain, the divine in our brain, it allows it to come forward to the front and take a greater role. So it really is it's a wonderful thing. I had a friend say to me, she walks every day, and while she walks, she prays the Rosary, but she said to me that she did not recite the entire Rosary, because she found that while she was reciting the Rosary, her brain would start to wander. And I said to her, That's the point. Let your brain wander. She said, "Oh, but I think about the grocery list, and I think about this, and I shouldn't be doing that." I said, "Let your brain go where it goes." After the grocery list, and after the picking up the dry cleaning, and after all of those things, as you or you get accustomed to allowing your conscious brain to relax and to go, to just take a back seat. It's a dedication. It's not a dedication, but it's an exercise. And so we have to allow ourselves to do that. We have to allow ourselves, and we have to go through those things where, when we replace, when we start to think about, oh, well, we're not thinking about so many things, then all those other things, those what we think are distractions, all those other things start to pop up. Oh, you got to get the mail, and oh, you got to buy stamps, and oh, I have to get milk at the grocery store. All of those things. Let those things happen. Let those things come up. Identify them and push them aside, and then get to that place. And it may take days, weeks, months for all of that stuff to go away, but eventually it will. Eventually your brain will just be able to turn off that conscious portion and allow that subconscious to come forward. When that happens, it's an amazing thing, that direct line of communication with the spiritual, with the divine, with God. It's an incredible thing. And again, it was completely proven to be what happens when we recite the Rosary. When we recite this, or I would imagine that it is exactly the same when Buddhist monks or Buddhists, use the prayer beads and they recite their mantras and those sort of things. It's designed. All of those things are designed to allow us to shut down our consciousness and allow our subconsciousness, that center of divinity, to come out, and allows us to explore that. So even while you're praying tonight, or maybe in the past, your brain starts to do that wander, or that thought pops in that, oh, I forgot to get that at the store today. Don't let it ruin the experience. Accept it, bring it in, identify it, and then set it aside. It's not a failure to pray. It's not a failure of saying the Rosary correctly, because there is no right way to do this. Even the church tells us, yes, you should, say an Our Father, then 10 Hail Marys, then a Glory Be, then a Fatima prayer. There's no right way to do that. If you wanted to just say 10 Hail Marys, if you wanted to say 5, I think that would be okay. A